right, good stuff. I'm Kevin Sully. He's Gordon Mack. Thanks, everybody watching live on YouTube right now. It's your last chance, Gordon, to get in any DK Metcalf takes. We are closing down for DK takes at the top of the hour, so get them in promptly. Thank you.
Yeah, well, we did a live reaction yesterday. It's already on YouTube. You guys can check that out. But yeah, just to beat the dead horse, but DK Metcalf, he's a talented individual, but he's not a world-class sprinter. What a world we live in, right? What a world we live in where a man is amazing at football, but he's just a really good athlete, just not a world-class sprinter. Crazy times.
I want to give you credit, Gordon, for predicting where this conversation would go, where the take would go. And again, all credit to DK Metcalf for going out there, running the race. I thought it was awesome. I enjoyed his interview afterwards that he did side by side with Cravon Gillespie. But you said where this conversation would go would be to the conversation about height and weight. Height and weight. Oh, he did this, but look how big he is. Oh, if he would just only lose 15, 20 pounds, think about how much faster he would be. You were ahead of it. You called that one. I was accurate in predicting the time, which probably is more important, but you're accurate in predicting the take, which for the purposes of this show, I have to give you credit for.
And DK seems like a nice dude to see on their screen. He tweeted out, "Thank God for the opportunity. Thank USATF for allowing me to come out today. Thank my coaches, PTs, family, and friends that supported." Yeah, seems like a good guy. I mean, Eagles fans have this love-hate relationship with DK Metcalf because he was taken right after we took a wide receiver, and he has been an all-pro receiver since. So Eagles fans have a little bit of a relationship with Metcalf, but it's okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, anyway. But yeah, the NFL community reacted. Everyone was talking about it. It was all over the blogs, the vlogs. You know it. Yeah, it was cool. Barstool Big Cat, he had a great take. I'll bring his. He said, "I feel like DK Metcalf didn't embarrass himself, but sneakily got smoked all in the same race. Sprinters are insane." It's true. Like, he did get smoked. He got dead last in his heat. And it was a prelim, so it's not like the guys up front were trying extremely hard because, you want to save it for the final. But yeah. Great spectacle all around. Happy track is back, right? It's May 2021. Mm-hmm. Who would have thought that over a year later we'd be having all this content to talk about? What a day.
Yeah. Well, I like the fact that Metcalf, we saw this tweet from Emmanuel Acho, what he said to him after the race. By the way, Emmanuel Acho just doing all sorts of content the last couple of days for the track world, posted the start video. He was just all over it, man. But he said everyone else was scared to do it. That's what he told Acho after the race. Like, why did you do this? Why did you put yourself out there? So again, I appreciate him for actually doing it. Now we have a time. We have a marker down for, hey, if you think these guys are fast, just so you know, this is what they've run. And you may think that that's super impressive. You may think that that's not impressive at all, depending on your perspective of 100-meter times. But at least now we have a number to associate with these sorts of efforts. On the size thing, I just want to say one thing before we put this whole thing to bed. Asafa Powell, very big guy. Usain Bolt, very big guy. Ryan Bailey, go look up the height and weight of Ryan Bailey, who was an Olympic sprinter for the United States, had some super fast times, took a shot at you in the bobsled after. Big guy. Just because Metcalf is a tad bit bigger doesn't mean big guys are completely immune from sprinting. He's not the first big guy to go out there and try to run the 100. I think I want to correct the record a little bit for our football friends who are dipping their toes into track, but I appreciate all of them obviously tuning in and enjoying track and field. It would have been interesting, Gordon. What if this was not a trials to finals setup? What if they just put him in the final against those folks who ran the final and he ran that same time, but then second to last place would have been 2/10 clear. Do you think the perception of what he ran would have been different, or were people just focused? Were people more focused, I guess, on the time, or were people more focused on the distance from him to the next closest competitor, do you think?
I think they were focused on distance from it. It looks like he was in the same category as the rest of the guys, right? Because he just happened to be last in that category, but there was no separation the way like Trayvon Bromell put separation on the field, and Eugene or Shakira Richardson put separation on the field. You didn't get the visual of like every runner having a clear 7-meter gap over him, right? You didn't get that
Yeah.
visual. And I think if there was that visual, it would have been like, wow, like he is in JV squad and the rest of the guys are varsity. But because it was in the prelim, you didn't really have that visual. Because if everyone up front was running 9.9s and he was the only one running 10.3s, you'd see that visual. But hey,
Yeah. No, it's
got what we
interesting.
got. I don't know how many podcasts are we going to do on this guy DK Metcalf, right? I think other interesting things actually happened at this meet. So while this was fun, I think it's time to put a bow on it. Put a bow on the summer of DK Metcalf, or I guess late spring of DK Metcalf, and get ready for the actual track and field, which is the distance and the sprints and the throws and all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, real quick, though, before we go, what other football players would you like to see run 100?
Oh, Tom Brady. Gotta go Tom Brady.
I want to see Tom Brady in the mile. I want to
Ooh,
see
that would be
the
good.
rest of my NFL 4x1 team run it. I want to see Hill. I want to see Goodwin. I want to see Mostert. I want to see if I really did compile the best possible NFL 4x1. I think if you had everybody run, I don't think DK would be the fastest guy. I mean, he did it, so he obviously has bragging rights, and the other guys haven't done it yet. But I think you'd find other guys who could run that fast in the league.
I want to see a tanker relay where you get all these linemen to do like a 4x1 and maybe make it 4x40 meters because they might not be able to get a full 100 meters in. But like Travis, if you Google Lane Johnson's Twitter account and bring up the most recent photo, I want to see this man, Lane Johnson, run a 4x1.
Explain to the
Lane
folks who he
Johnson's
is.
60. Lane Johnson, he's a lineman for the Philadelphia Eagles. Here I found it. Travis, I'm texting it to you now. Bro, we'll bring that up on the screen for people who are watching. For those who are listening, just scroll down like a few. There it is. Boom. Look at this. I want to see this man running a 4x1. Look at that form.
What'd you call it?
Look at that form.
Did you call it you called it the tanker relay? What are the different?
Yeah, tanker
I've never heard
relays.
that.
So we have defensive linemen and offensive linemen do a little 4x1 action, or maybe have the 4 D line go up against 4 O line, and they just do a little 4x1 around the track, and it's just fun seeing the body mass going as fast as possible around the amount of kinetic energy going down. It's fun to watch. That's what
I need to put an Eagles spin on it. That's impressive. Kurt in the chat points out Tom Brady already runs the 5K for Michigan. Different Tom Brady, though. And on that note, we'll transition to the rest of the meet. Gordon, this was a fun one to watch. Half the time, I felt like I was watching a replay of meets that we've already seen this year. And then the other half the time, it felt like I was seeing brand new stuff. So I divided this into 2 categories: stuff that we've seen already, stuff that stayed the same, and then stuff that was brand new that adds a little bit of a twist to this track and field season. I'll start first with what stayed the same. Shakira Richardson dominating 100. She goes 10.74 in the prelim, which was her second fastest time ever. Then she goes to the final and into a minus 1.2 headwind, runs a 10.77. So now she's got 4 times all time in the 10.7s. It just seems like she's settled into the sweet spot where you can expect a 10.7 out of her, which obviously, without saying, that puts her in extremely elite company. I know you had a little bit of fun with those wind calculators. You turn it around and then you don't have a headwind and then you put it as a tailwind. I don't know how accurate those things are, but you know,
Hey man, it's super
it's
accurate.
interesting to speculate. Yeah, it's interesting to speculate. There it is.
Yeah, apparently, with 0 win, it would be a 1069, which is pretty incredible. I mean,
Yeah.
1077 and a headwind is pretty impressive. And it's not just a slight headwind; it's pretty major, 1.2 miles per hour. So, not meters per second. 1.2 miles per hour would be very different. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, she's just showing consistency on consistency on consistency, and you know, the only thing you got to think of, like, the only thing left now for her to do is like make sure she keeps this consistency at the trials and ultimately at the
Mhm.
Olympics. Even at the trials, even if she doesn't have a consistency at the trials, you'll be able to forget about it because, like, all right, whatever, it's a qualifier for the Olympics. But you don't want her to go on in 2021 and have run like 7 10 sevens,
Yeah.
maybe 1 10 6, and then all of a sudden she just runs 10 8 in the final and gets second. And you want her to be able to have this resume kind of end with on a high note. Now again,
Hmm.
she's young, so even if she did get run 10 8 in the Olympic final at the age of like 2021, it's not the end of the world. She'll be back stronger than ever. But she seems like she's in her prime of primes right now with what she's
Yeah.
running, even though she's so young.
I think after she ran the 1075 last year, people
2 years
obviously were
ago.
like, okay, 2 years. Sorry. Whew. Time flies when you're literally not doing anything for 2 years. I think when she ran the 1075, some people thought, okay, well, was that was that the peak? Was that the apex of her career? We've seen it before where college kids run their fastest in college, and she's just completely disproven that with every single run. And the amount of times you run 1070, as you mentioned, and if you talk about going sub 10.7, you're putting yourself in just the top tier. Like it's just not common to see people run this quickly, let alone it being in May. I think she's worked herself to the point where she has a huge margin of error in the United States. Like, I don't know if you have a number in mind of what could make the team for the women in the 100, but obviously a 10.8 is going to make the team.
Yeah.
Anybody
Oh
would
yeah.
anybody would say that. Like that's so basically she could run it full 10 slower, maybe even 2 tenths slower than she's running right now, and she'd still be fine. That's not going to be her mindset going in. It seems like she's running every race to the best of her abilities, and she's getting quicker and quicker. So yeah, I just felt like it was Groundhog Day for Shakira Richardson. Ditto with this 1500. I watched this 1500. I thought, man, Gordon is loving this 1500. First of all, Oliver Hoare does this thing. Just takes a bat to the whole field here. Justin Knight goes with him, just like in Eugene. There's this huge gap. I don't even blame the other guys for not going with him because there's not at Oliver Hoare Justin Knight's level right now. But it was just interesting when you see zoom in on those. Can you zoom in, Travis, on those finishing times? Not the top two. What's that magic 336? Let's see. Oh man, it's like a magnet, Gordon. It's like they cannot avoid the U.S. guys cannot avoid the 336. I feel bad almost. It's like there's this jinx on them that you have put on these American men, so that way they think they can only run the 336. But credit to Hoare, man. I heard in the broadcast we're talking about they think he can go 330 this year. I definitely think it's possible for sure that he can do it because he's doing this off of, yes, good pacemaking, but taking the lead in the hardest part of the race.
Yeah. I don't know why these Americans don't want to at least attempt to run with them. Like they didn't even try to go with the rabbit after, like, once they got to like 600 meters, they're like, nah, we're not going with the rabbit. And there's something about it. Like they all decided none of them wanted to go with the rabbit and Hoare and Knight. Like, and it was so visual. They had the entire race was two different races. You had the American race and then you had the elite race. I mean, not to
Well,
criticize the
they're
Americans,
not
but
going
like,
with them. They're not going with them because they went out in 56. That's why they're not going out with them. I don't
who
think it's a.
cares? They didn't run
It's
328. They ran 333. Okay? Like, it's not like they ran something incredible, crazy fast. They ran the equivalent of a 350 mile, something that college kids did this year. It's not like they were running like Timothy Chariot type times. 333
I
is
think
should be a baseline if you're an elite American 1500 meter runner. I mean, this
I
isn't
don't think
rocket
it's a
science.
matter
They're
of
not running
deciding.
sub
I
330.
think in some I think in some situations you're right. I think in some situations you're right. It's a matter of decision. It's a matter of making the choice. I think this was all ability. I think Hoare and Knight are that much better than those guys, especially running that style, going out in 56. I think they were worried about completely blowing up and falling off the back.
Well, okay,
That's
what
what I
happens
think.
if you blow up? What happens if you blow up? You run 340? Oh, wow, I ran 340 instead of 338. Big deal. Like, who cares if you blow up? Give yourself an opportunity to run fast. How many 338s and 337s and 336s do you need on your resume before you're like, all
Well, I
right, I
think
can
that
afford to lose one of these 337 races for a chance at a 334? For a chance. You know, you might as well take it.
I think they thought their best chance to run the sub 335 was to run a little bit more even from the gun. I just think
Well, they
we shouldn't
were a full
give
2 seconds off of that.
right, but I'm saying we should give respect to Horror here and Knight about how good they are and not make it seem like it's just a decision from the US guys to back off. Like they're running with obviously with some guts there, putting themselves out there, but they're also completely, I think, on a different level. I mean, we saw Horror's done this enough times. Horror's done this enough times now to where we have a lot of evidence that he's at that level. Did it once indoors and now has done it twice outdoors. I think Horror is in a different tier than he was a couple of years ago. I think when we see him go to the Diamond League this summer, I think he's going to be up in that group. I'm not putting him with Chariot and Ingebrigtsen yet, but I think he's inching his way up there into the Kerr realm, which Kerr was top 6 guy in the world in 2019.
Yeah, I agree. Horror and Knight are a better right now, but like they're not Supermen right now. Like
Well,
they
I'm not
just
saying
look like
Superman, but I'm
Supermen
saying are
because
they
the
3 seconds
Americans are
better than
choosing to
Wynn?
run like Clark Kent's instead of run like they're running like low. Like it's just like come on, like and I get it. Like there's a lot more to it, and who am I to say this? But like, hey, it's the Olympic year. We shouldn't be running times that college kids are running. We literally had 2 college kids run sub 336, right? One of them's a sophomore in college. And we're out here being paid professionals and you're running 337, 338. And I get it. It's hard, it's hot. And like, Gordon, you try running 338. I can't, and I never will be able to. But there was a
No.
1500 though that I might have been able to finish top 2 in, which we can get to later. Travis will find that. But I'm just saying, like, it's okay to like go for it and fail. Like, what are we doing? You don't need more 338s. You need a
I see what you're
335. You
saying.
need
I see what you're saying from a risk reward standpoint. You're right. The incentive should be there to go for it. Someone like, but see, it does not surprise me. Someone like Henry Wynn, 336, like solid time for Henry Wynn. I think the problem is someone like Engels, who finishes back in 7th with a 337.9. He's the guy who has that ability. Obviously, he can run 332. He can run 333, but he's not at that point yet. Obviously, Engels, does he have an incentive to run sub
no
335? No. Now I know
He's
we're gonna
thanks guys. Slow down.
well, and that college meet you talked about, as good as it was, how many guys ended up getting the standard? Now I know there's gonna be world rankings and all this other stuff, but if we're scoring at home, any week where there's not a sub 335 American, it's a good weekend for Centro, Thompson, and Engels, right? A big win for them because you had all these fast people run in all these races that were set up to go quick, and still we have 3 guys with the standard.
And I do think Hawker is going to have the world ranking standard because he's running enough. He has a 350 under his belt. He now has his 335, 336. If they can get, you need 5 strong performances, and I think he'll have 5 under his belt by the time he finishes the trials. So I really think that we're going to select a team member to the men's 1500 based off of world ranking. I think that's going to happen because we're not going to see like 12 guys with 334 PBs or season best. So, hey man, I it is just wild. Like it's comical. Why are you in this race if literally a minute in you already deciding I am giving zero chance of winning this race? 80% of that, no, 95% of that
Winning the
field
race or running 335?
decided. No, 90%, 95% of that field decided after a little bit over a lap. I know I'm guaranteeing I am putting myself in zero position to win. None of them tried to win the race except for Justin Knight and Ollie Hoare. That's when if you're on
Yeah, but listen though. You could have said the
elite
same thing.
stage, you're getting in a
Hold on.
plane to go to this big meet sponsored by the World Athletics and USATF, and literally 60 seconds in the race, you're just gonna be like, yeah, no, I don't plan on trying to win this race anymore. That's just crazy.
The same thing happened in Doha. Timothy Chariot went out hard, and no one went with him really in that race. And you even talked to the guys afterwards. They thought it's kind of going to be two races. Chariot's going to do his thing. Now,
okay, there's a lot more value. There's a lot more value to a world medal than there is to the Mount Sac third place win.
No, but I'm talking about the mental approach you take to a race when you just know you cannot run that pace. Asking someone to sign up for that, it's just basically just you're gonna blow up. Basically, is they're making a business decision here, right? They know what they can handle. I understand that. I understand that it
is not insane. We keep on acting like 333 is some like world class. Oh my god, performance. It's like no, like
but they went out like in 50. Someone can get this. Who's got the split? Because I only have the 300 split here, which is completely useless, 40.1. But I feel like they went out in 56. And if you're going out in 56 for the first quarter, that is fast. 56 is fast for the first quarter.
It's not fast.
Right?
It's in like a train. If everyone is
that's like 327. Hold on. That's like 327 pace. That's like 327 pace. It's fast. That's fast. Those are the splits, but that's a 300 split. That doesn't really help us. I thought through the first quarter they were around 56. So
yeah, but at
there is a point.
They let the break happen.
No, they were gone. It was gone from the beginning. There was basically a 2-second gap between that group and then everybody else. 2 seconds in, or 1 lap in. In any event, credit to Hoare. Credit to Justin Knight. He got the standard. He said on this podcast he wanted to try to get that 1,500-meter Olympic standard. Maybe he'll run the 1,500-meter too. That'd be exciting race to watch. Let's switch topics here, though. Shamir Little stays sharp, 53.65. Gordon in her 400-meter hurdle debut. This is getting exciting. Shamir Little's strung together now. Well, she ran the 204-800, and then you talk about the 400s that she ran. She ran those back-to-back PBs, and now 53.65. For Little.
Yeah, I mean, clearly we think about that trials 400 hurdles is like a 4-woman race with the 2 strong solids in Dalilah Muhammad and Sydney McLaughlin, and then kind of the battle for third between Little and Spencer. Right now, you got to think the Spencer Little sub battle is kind of becoming less. I mean, both ran in this race, and Little was a full 2 seconds better than Spencer. So you have to think that Little now is becoming closer and closer to a lock with the other top 2, where this women's 400-meter hurdle race could just be a formality in a weird way. It's going to be the most formality-ridden race of the trials, right? Can you think of another race where I think 95% of people who will fill in their top 3 are going to put Little, Muhammad, and McLaughlin? I think that's going to be the only race that everyone's like, yep, this is a 3. Can you think of another more solid top 3?
Women's steeple, if we get to see Quigley and Coburn soon, I think that would be the one where you could fill it in. Although that got kind of interesting with Wayment.
Yeah.
With
Leah Fowland.
Leah Fowland and Marissa Howard. They ran quick. They weren't too far behind Courtney Frericks this weekend. But that's been the one. That's been the go-to, the chalkiest of chalk recently, where you have Coburn, Frericks, and Quigley. 1, 2, 3.
Something
I
about
think there's
women
going to
winning
be
over barriers. Very
yeah,
just know who the
yeah,
three
that's
are.
it. I'm excited to see though the next month because I think there's still going to be another plot twist. Maybe someone else pop up that can make that third spot competitive. But here's the thing: even though you know the team, there's going to be a lot of interest in that race because the world record is going to be under threat. Because anytime
Yeah.
those women all come together and race, the world record's going to be under threat. So even though maybe the drama, if Little stays on a roll and we get what we get normally from McLaughlin and Muhammad, we'll still have that world record to track. Norman, 44.4. We take anything away from that other than the fact that he just keeps rolling along? I think maybe after 2019 where he ran the 43, 45 way early in the season
In April.
and then got hurt by the end. Yeah, maybe a slower little ramp up, but he's getting some wins in there. Michael Cherry had a nice race to finish second there. Justin Robinson was a bit farther back. That's going to be one where that third spot just seems like it's going to be wide open until we get all the way to the end of the season. When we previewed this meet, we had Brazier running in the 800. That didn't happen. He scratched. So in his stead, Bryce Hoppel remains the top non-Brazier guy, 144.94. This was interesting because if you look at the results without Brazier, everybody slotted in almost exactly where you expected them to be from the American side of things, right? Because you had Hoppel get the win. Behind him was Cerrone, but then the next American was Murphy. And then behind him was Harris. And then behind him was Sawinski. It's like they looked at your rankings before the race, and they just went in the exact order, which for an 800 is kind of weird, right? The 800's got a lot of, variables to it.
Elon, why don't we show up the results instead of the Michael Norman photo?
Yeah, let's put those results up there. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you kind of disrespected Cerrone a bit when I was like, watch out for Michael Cerrone, or you kind of laughed it off. Cerrone is legitimate. I mean, he looks like he's always about to fall off, but he finds a way to stay in the race. And I mean, I think Cerrone and when he put in Courier, they're both going to be medal threats, in my opinion. I think I would argue that the top 4 800-meter runners in the world are Courier, Cerrone, Hoppel, and Brazier, the two UTEP guys and the 2 Americans. I think that's going to be your battle. I think 3 of those 4 will be the medalists at the Olympics, just from what I'm seeing so far. This is my take.
Would you agree with that? About Brazier?
Am I worried about Brazier? No worry at all. But Brazier probably would have won this race, right? Do you think he would have? I mean, we don't know. That's the whole idea. We want to know. It's a Hoppel or Brazier, right?
I think he would have. I think he would have been able to run fashion 144.9, but you don't want to discount Hoppel because Hoppel always he wins. That's how he figures these things out. He always runs a solid race. 2 other things I wanted to get to on the topic of what stayed the same before we get to what changed. High hurdles, Kenny Harrison wins. Cindy McLaughlin's still running the high hurdles. She PR'd again, but credit to Harrison for getting another win there. We can throw those results up, and then we can look at the Cindy McLaughlin progression this year in the high hurdles. This race is more open than I thought it was going to be too. On the U.S. side of things, obviously you got Harrison in there, but I think you got a lot of open spots, and I'm just curious what's gonna shake out the next 6 weeks. Is someone gonna get on a roll and start running off some 12 4s or even 12 5s?
You look at this, Cindy could make the Olympic team in the hurdles, in the high hurdles. That's what I take away from this, right?
12
She's the second American in this race.
Yeah.
She beat Sharika Nelvis. I don't know, like if I'm not sure what's first, the 400 hurdles or the 100 hurdles at the trials, but like she's definitely gonna have the ability to double and have like a safety net to try to make a team if something goes awry in the 400 hurdles. But she was second American in that race.
So
She's
Tania,
becoming a different type. She's becoming a different runner. So
I'm just looking up the NCAA list this year. So Tania Marshall with the plus 2.6 has run 12:53. Tara Davis has run 12:61 with a 2.6 as well too. And then you got one, two, three other women under 12:80 this year. Yeah, it's strange. I didn't think that this would be the discussion this year because if I thought she was going to do a different event, I would have thought the flat 400. I would not have thought the high hurdles, and what we were told early on, and we don't get a ton of the information in a prompt manner, was like she was doing it just to address some weaknesses, with her off leg. She did the 60 hurdles indoors, but now we've had that's 4 races plus she's run 5 high hurdle races this year. That's a lot. Maybe we'll see a 400-meter hurdle race soon. Because as close as she is, you're right. She definitely has a chance to make the team. I would not count her out. But distance from her to the best in the world obviously is a lot bigger than it is in the 400 hurdles where it's Muhammad. And we saw how close those two were in Doha. We got the world list right now. Camacho Quinn is cruising up there.
Sydney's third in the U.S.
Third American, third U.S. American. Yeah, exactly. Okay, one other one on what stayed the same. The steeple's still confusing. Sean McGorty. This is the men's steeple. We talked about the women's steeple a bit earlier. McGorty makes his debut, runs 8:20, gets the standard, but I don't think it was we didn't get clarity here because Jaeger rabbited. He dropped out after 2K, so I have no idea what to take away from Jaeger's performance. McGorty for a debut, that's awesome, but still behind Updike and Furlick, correct? Those guys are 8:17s.
Here's the thing. There's clarity. I think I predicted this is the time he was going to run. I'm not sure. I said he's going to run low 8:20s. I think I said that, or high 18s.
Okay, well, that's not that hard because that's the standard. But you have clarity here. Who's making the team? I'm pulling up your standards
Sean McGorty
list here.
and Evan Jaeger are making the team. That's my clarity. 2 of the 3 are going to be Bowerman. And I bet Hillary Bohr gets the 3rd spot because he's super talented. And I think he's had a bad race. Okay. Sean McGorty is 13-0 talent. So to compare to like Mason Furlick, who just ran what? He was in that same realm as Isaac Updike. They both ran the 8:17, 8:18. Mason Furlick this weekend ran 13:24. Sean McGorty is like a sub 13:05 type runner. It's 20 seconds over 5K. Sean McGorty is faster raw speed than Mason Furlick. I think when you throw that in, when Sean McGorty's going all out, Sean McGorty easily is going to be able to run, I think, low 8:10s.
Yeah.
And then I think Evan Jaeger will be with them. I think this gave me clarity that I'm willing to put a locket where I'm putting my house on Sean McGorty making an Olympic team. And I'll get better odds on that. So I'll probably get like 5 houses in return. So
you're not
be great.
You don't own a house. I hate to tell you about that.
But
do you think Evan Jaeger knows he doesn't have the standard?
I don't think he knows.
He has to know, right?
Well, no, he knows. I don't think it matters. They're not going to run that slow at the trials, right? Right?
Would you want to risk it? That would be.
He'll probably do it one more.
That's cutting it close.
He'll do one more race. They're going to run. Yeah. He's going to run at least one steeple full before
I just thought it was interesting that you didn't think that was interesting that he decided to rabbit it.
Well, I think they decided to rabbit it to make it all about McGorty and like give McGorty the best opportunity to have the best, like, cleanest race possible. And Evan's like, I'm a vet. I can handle doing this on my own a week later or 2 weeks later. It's nothing. It's not that big of a deal.
Gotcha. All right. Well, it was interesting because it didn't seem like it was like they made the announcement last minute. I don't know if that's how it was structured. What's this tweet? Can you read that tweet, Gordon? Here's a Jaeger tweet. I can't see that.
Oh, that's a while ago. I don't know.
Oh.
Just unfortunately, I won't be making the trip to Cali this weekend with the team. I was planning around the 1500. on Saturday, but my Achilles flailed up a little bit. I'm making a smart decision the rest of the year.
When is that
Yeah,
though?
I
What's
think
the date?
that's from a while ago. That's from March.
Okay,
So
never mind.
that's early. So he
Get
has
rid of
been
it.
banged up. That's what we're learning from it. But he was fine and rabbiting. He'll come out, and I think they know what they're doing. It's going to be a Jager McGordy show at the trials, in my opinion.
Okay. All right. Well, I had it. I still had it in my. I'm still confused about this event list, but that's okay. We can disagree on that one. What changed? Here we go. Speaking of houses, I'm getting a little nervous about mine, Gordon. A little nervous about mine. I bet it all on Noah Lyles, winning the Olympic gold. I called it lock of all locks. Said anybody who does not bet their house on Noah Lyles is losing out on an awesome opportunity. Listen, still won. Still ran 1990. But I was questioning it a little bit coming off that turn. He was way back coming off that turn. He got Kenny Bednarek at the very, very end. So two things are happening here. Lyles not blowing people away, number one. And number two, Bednarek showing himself as a legitimate rival. I mean, we've seen Lyles lose 200s before, but it's been to people, Michael Norman, right? Best of the best here. Bednarek inching his way closer and closer. I think Lyles is going to figure out that curve soon, and he's going to get a better start. I think this was just not a great start for him. I'm just saying this mostly because I don't want to lose my house in this bet that I had. But I'm also thinking Kenny B, man, he is solid. We've seen this going back to his high school days, his JUCO days. Legit contender here now in the 200. I thought Lyles was going to lose this race. And listen, I've watched pretty much every Noah Lyles race, so I know never to count him out. But with 100 to go, I thought, oh my gosh, this is it. Like, he's going to lose this race.
I need to tell my wife. This is
yeah. She was sitting next to me on the couch, and I started going, what? And she wasn't paying attention because she's not watching track. She was doing something else. And she's like, what's happening? What's going on? And I didn't tell her about the whole house part of it. I just thought, Noah Lyles is about to lose. And she didn't really know what was going on. But yeah, it was a nervous couple seconds in the Sully household.
I mean, can we look at maybe the 200 now as a chalk situation with Lyles, Kenny B, and Terrence Laird being our top three? No. We
got two. We got two, but Laird, okay. We need some more races for Laird. I think Laird's legit.
Laird's run 19.8 twice. He's run 19.8 twice.
Chalk, you're not understanding what it means with chalk. Chalk is like there's no possible way that somebody else can get in there. I think there is some possible way that somebody else can get in there. Who that person is, I don't know yet. Travis has the clip there of me betting my house. So and he put my cheesy face up there too. So I'm forever associated with this. But listen, even if I lose my house on this bet, there's a chance I get my house back because you said something on the show last week, and I don't know if I heard you correctly, but you said you were betting against Simpson and Felix to make the team, and I bet you on that. If I get both, do I have to get both to win or just one to win?
I don't know. We can make it both.
Because guess what's happening, Gordon? Guess what's happening, Gordon?
You think she'll make the team in the two?
Allison Felix is making the team. Allison Felix is making the team. 200, 400, whatever. She's making the team after this performance. Because you didn't have her in the relay pool, right? You basically said she wasn't going to make it in the relay pool. That's insane. That is crazy. She ran an awesome 200. Gabby Thomas, credit to her. She gets a win, 22.12. Felix there, 22.26, ahead of Irby, Prandini, Ellis, Brown, Jefferson, Brianna Williams. You got to think Felix, when championship time comes around, only going to be better. 400, she's got a little more room there in terms of getting on the squad. It feels good. Feels good to be right. Feels good to win this bet.
You do know only three women. Only three women. You do know only 3 women make the 200-meter team, right?
But you said in the quarter,
Gabby Thomas smoked Allison Felix. So I think it's fair to say that Gabby Thomas will beat Allison Felix. There's this girl named Shakira Richardson. Have you heard of her? Who's running 10.7s backwards. She's going to make the team, right? So that's 2. And then there's this girl in college that I've been on the same horse since 2019, Abby Steiner, who's going to probably run 22-1 at the NCAA final. She'll make the team. And then Allison Felix will be 4th and the first woman out. So,
but you said the team, so that means you don't think she's getting the top 8 in the 400. She's getting top 8 in the 400. She's going to run both, and she's going to get top 8 in the 400 for sure. And she might just straight up get top 3 in one of these races. You looked at the start list. You looked at the start list like I looked at the start list and said, hey, she's going to have to beat these people if she wants to be a trials threat. And she went out and did it. She beat all of them except for one. That's solid. And I'm not betting against Allison Felix in a high-pressure race.
It was on her home track. There was
home track. The track was constructed like the track was built like 12.
No, she didn't have to stay in a hotel room. She was.
Oh yeah, that's it.
I'm just saying. Oh, I'm not. Can we change it that she won't make the 200 team? Or is it bet?
No, you can't change the bet. Okay. You can't change the bet.
I still think she'll make the 200 team.
The people in the chat remembered from last week. The people in the chat are roasting you, and I love it because usually when you and I make a bet,
they didn't prove anything.
Usually when you and I make a bet, you and I make a bet, nobody else is witnesses. Nobody else hears it. Maybe Lincoln hears it, but we don't hear from Lincoln anymore. Now we have all these witnesses, and I love all you guys in the chat for holding Gordon accountable. They're like, "Hey, Gordon, you talked about
nothing happened yet. I didn't lose the bet.
You can see it's coming.
You can cash this ticket in now. You can't.
I'm going to take it with my Lyles bet. I'm going to take it to the casino. I'm going to own it.
You're trying to stop the count early, man. You're trying to stop the count early. Come on. You can't. You have to learn
I'm giving you a chance to get out. That's what I'm doing.
I'm not going to get out. Why would I get out? No.
Because she's not slowing down after this. She's not getting any slower. Felix only getting better.
Neither is Shakira Richardson. Neither is Gabby Thomas.
Better.
Neither is Abby Steiner. No. She hasn't run a 400 yet. How do you know it's all of a sudden going to translate to a good 400? You don't know that. Maybe she's.
I do know that. I do know
lost her endurance, and she's going to fall apart in the final 50 meters of a 400.
You're right.
She still doesn't have. She still doesn't have the
15th year of her career. Isn't going to know how to peak for a championship. You're right. Allison Felix doesn't know how to get ready for a big race. You're grasping.
Will she even?
I'm giving you an extra.
Will she even qualify for the Olympic trials in the 400? She doesn't have the Olympic trial standard in the 400.
Put your turn signal on, check your blind spot, and go to the exit. I'm giving you a chance to get to the exit ramp.
I'm not going to get out.
Get to the exit ramp.
I'm going to be that man who decided to stick to it, and then, I still believe. Hey, she ran well. I don't want to take away. She still ran well, for the record.
Yeah. Credit to her.
Congrats.
Also, can we see the shirt?
But I still
her husband and her kid had awesome shirts on. Zoom in on the shirt. Can we zoom? Enhance. Let's go CSI mode here. Can we do it? No. My mom is faster than your mom. That's awesome. I love it. That's
very true. She is faster than. But if Shakira Richardson had a baby, then that wouldn't be true. But she doesn't because she's.
Someone else in the chat remembered that you discounted Cornera Hayes too. So everybody, we're bringing up all of it.
Well, I'm going to count on Cornera Hayes now to beat Allison Felix in the 400. So I'm okay. Yeah. I'm happy. I needed that extra bullet in my chamber to get my Allison Felix take correct. Hey, she ran well, but there are still, at least in my opinion, 3 women faster than her in the 200. And I also think we have yet to see her in the 400, so we don't know yet. If she comes out and runs like a 50.5 in the 400, then I'm gonna want to ask for a bailout. But until then, I'm holding on.
I didn't know. I forgot the actual mechanics of the bet. I didn't know if I had to get the Simpson part right too.
For the record, though, it's a good bet on your end. So you should think. You're getting. I'm saying that she's gonna finish 9th. Like, come on, like you should at least give me some credit for my ballsness, my braveness of making this type of bet.
You get 0 credit here, and I'm glad that people are paying attention to this. But let's talk about the 1500.
Pay attention in June. We'll see what happens.
I'm sure they will. June's coming up. The Jenny Simpson part of the bet, though, an interesting update in that because Purrier ran 3:58, and she looks really solid. Did a lot of leading in this race too. What do you think about that women 15? Gabrielle Dubuis-Stafford 4 flat in second.
I mean, this is what we kind of expect from Purier now. I mean, she is in this class. Like,
yeah,
I think she's in the Shelby Houlihan, Laura Muir, like that type of field where if it's a good race, she's going to be sub 4. I think the
yeah.
thing I was most surprised about was Shannon Oseko running 4 flat. Like, that's quick. And, like, did not see that coming. So I was most surprised by that. El Perrier winning was not surprising because she's great. I'm excited for El versus Shelby at the trials. But now that we saw that Jenny Simpson isn't really like 100% there, you see Nikki Hiltz finishing 10th in this race. And then you see someone like a Shannon Oseko running 4 flat. I think there's that third spot is wide open, and anyone can take it. So that's got me excited.
Well, perhaps we're going to see some people who put down some good 800s in that 1500 because we saw a lot of quick 800s between the two heats. You had Kate Grace and Brennan Martinez in the B 800. I thought that was a typo. That's how deep this thing was here.
Yeah, and they ran sub 2. Brendan Martinez, man, sub 2. He's back.
Yeah, we did our don't count them out list at the beginning of the year. Brenda was on my list. I said, don't count her out. She ran some 2-0 lows in the 2020 weird season. And then she comes out here and does this right behind Kate Grace. It's solid. I mean, you gotta be sub 2 to even be in the conversation. I think that's not a controversial point of view here. So Grace runs 159.72, Martinez 159.87. And then in the A heat later on in the day, Riki and Muir from Great Britain went 1-2. Then Bishop Narangu of Canada gets third. Adele Tracy fourth. So then the first U.S. person in the A heat, Raven Rogers 159.6. Then Heather McLean 159.72. Then Sinclair Johnson 159.9. You still feel good about a thing, Mo. Obviously, you still feel good about Ajay Wilson. But just to get to the final in the trials for the U.S. is going to be a very, very
I mean, how many women have broken 2 minutes in the 800 now in the U.S.? 8. You have a thing, Mo. This is in 2021 outdoors. A thing, Mo, 157. Wilson, 158. Rogers, 159. Heather McLean, 59. Grace, 59. Kayla Edwards, 59. Martinez, 59. And Sinclair Johnson, 59. And Allie Wilson, 202 flat point 01. So, yeah, it's heating up, and you still have yet to throw in Hannah Green in there. Sage Herta can probably dip under. Liam Miller, who's the Ncaa indoor champion, isn't on that list yet. So, like, there's still room for more women to be in that sub 2 range. Now, some of these women probably won't run the 800, like a Sinclair Johnson probably won't run it. But you could see a Sinclair Johnson or a Kate Grace or Brenda Martinez. They can all be doing the double, and they could be using this 800 as a backup plan. Like, I could see Sinclair Johnson getting fourth in the 1500, then coming back and being a legitimate threat for a top 3 finish in the 8.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. That's a great point. The other one I wanted to talk about on what changed, men's 4-meter hurdles, because one of the big 3 besides Carson Moorholm finally ran a 4-meter hurdle race. And what a race it was for Rai Benjamin, 47.13. That's his third fastest time of his career. Second and third in this race also got PBs. It was a little misleading because usually when Rai runs in the United States, he's got these massive leads, and you can tell by 150 meters that he's just cruising to victory. This one, coming off the curb, he still had folks with him, McMaster, Dos Santos right there. But those guys were just running the race of their life. And Benjamin was just methodically, quietly cranking out a 47-1. So I love this event. I love the fact, Warholm last year went for it, took all those shots at the world record. Samba, obviously, sub-47 guy too. It just got even more interesting because now Benjamin has just proven he's not going anywhere. 2019, I don't think anybody thought 2019 was going to be the apex of his career, but basically he's proven that. I think if you run 47-1 in that sort of race, he's ready to go sub 47 his next time out.
Yeah, I mean nothing. I don't. You introduced a segment as another thing that's kind of changed. Nothing's changed. It's Ry Benjamin.
Well, changed because they showed up. He ran.
Oh.
He hadn't run. He hasn't run a hurdle race since the final. Neither is Samba.
Yeah, but he ran exactly where he's left off. So it's kind of just he literally he paused his life because of pandemic. He paused the 400 hurdles because of pandemic, and restarted, and everything. The Windows operating system stayed the same. Everything's good. No errors.
Yeah, you're right. I guess from that perspective, but I thought it changed just because we hadn't seen him run this race. Seen him run some quarters, indoors, outdoors, some shorter stuff, but not his main race. I want to give you a chance to talk about some NCAA highlights, which will begin obviously with that 1500 at the Oregon Twilight meet, won by Yared Nuguse in typical Nuguse fashion. Look at this finish. Look at the lean. Nuguse over Cooper Tier.
Yeah, I've said everyone has been on the Hawker train. I mean, I even almost switched back to the Hawker train when I updated my rankings. But Hawker, with his times he's running, with the indoor double, I was just like, but there are two guys out there who can maybe beat him in the 1500 and the 5K. And that is Yared Nuguse in the 15 and Luis Grijalva in the 5. And we got to see our first crack at one of them, and that was Nuguse, and he showed up. I had a feeling that Nuguse wasn't going to be 100% because he delayed his race, but it looks like he just wanted to get an opportunity to run at Eugene, get an opportunity to race against someone like Hawker, so he can kind of size up where he is so he knows what he needs to work on. And he comes out, and it's like, this is he's a definition of pausing, right? He was the best of the best at the end of 2019, and now he's still there. People want to give the crown to someone else because Nuguse decided to just not run, but his DNSs should not discredit his ability, and now he is the 1500 meter favorite, and now I would argue he's the qualify for the Olympic team. He's a top 3 favorite in my opinion, right? If we were putting Hawker in that category and we're seeing everyone running 336, he only ran 335 high, but I think Nuguse. Would you take Nuguse over a kick against Josh Thompson or Craig Engels right now? I would.
I said it before. He's got that Wheating 2008 magic to him, where he's had that for a couple of years, so it's hard to say he's just 1 year of Wheating, but he's got that Wheating 08, 09, 2010 feel. When he gets to the end of a race, you expect him to win, but Hawker has that too. It's strength on strength when it comes down to the last 100 meters. I just want them both to get the stand. I don't want to be doing math, man, in June. I don't want to have to be looking at your rankings. Yeah, I don't want you to text me about world ranking points. And I don't want to get that text. I want to just have them both have the standard. I want to be able to watch that race.
It's going to be fun.
I want to block your texts. I want to watch it just focusing on top 3. That's what I want to watch. The cool thing is, though, we're going to get them NCAAs, though, too. We get them there. So we're going to get to see this a couple times.
The odds of Nuguse getting the standard are kind of rare now, right? But how many 1500s do they run at the trials? Is it 3? Is it 3 rounds?
Yeah.
Okay. So he's assuming he does the 1500 at ACCs, right? He's going to have 2 at ACCs, 2 at prelims. He's going to have 2 more at NCAAs, and then 3 at the trials. So he's going to run 9 more 1500s plus the one he just ran. So he has 10. He's going to have 10 1500s under his belt, a bunch of them being prelims. He just needs to make sure of the next 9 1500s, he needs to run maybe 4 of them in the 338 range, and he should be fine ranking wise.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
That's what we need.
What do you think about?
He can't run them all in 345s.
Yeah.
Tier?
What do you think about Tier? like runner up in this race, but do we see him as a 1500 guy, a 5K guy? I feel like if I was trying to make the team and I was good in both, I'd probably lean to the 15. But he seems like a 5 guy.
He did win the mile against Hawker, right? Tier,
What do you mean?
when they ran the indoor mile?
Oh, the collegiate record?
Yeah. So Tier won that. In a way, if you think about it, we keep on thinking Hawker as the miler and Tier as the 5K runner, but maybe they're opposite.
Yeah.
Because when Hawker races Tier in the 5K, he beats him. But when Tier races Hawker in the 15/mile, Tier beats him. So it could be a little switcheroo that we could be getting. Maybe we see Tier run the 1500 at the NCAAs and see Hawker run the 5K.
Yeah. I think because Hawker won the NCAA indoor title in the mile, that's why we associate him with mile greatness, even though you're right, he has finished behind him now in 2 really fast races. It's exciting between the 3 of those guys. And farther down, do we have the results? I mean, it was fast all the way through. Everybody came to play. It would just, I take credit for things I get right. So I'm going to say I definitely got this one wrong because I had 2 people breaking the collegiate record and no people ran the collegiate record. But it was good. It was good top to bottom. Just wasn't quite collegiate record worthy. Josh Kerr, his mark, lives to see another day.
Yeah. Any other things happening around the NCAA? Not much because next week is conferences. Which, speaking of that, the Big East champs live on Flow. Get that ready. Here we have the results from the Oregon Relays 1500. Yeah, obviously Hawker there, 336. Ryan Adams, 337. Charlie Hunter, 338. Tam Franco, 338. Dolan, 340. So, hey,
everybody's about a second or 2 off.
There's depth, man. There's depth in the 1500 this year. A lot of guys are running in the 3:39, 8, 7, which is good. And remember, they're college kids. They're not professionals who are paid to fly around the country to run fast. These are just college kids, and they're running the same as the pros.
Here's the thing that I think we should remember when you're talking about Hawker, Ncaa, or whoever needs to run this many 338s in the prelims or in these meets. I just think that's going to be the last thing on their mind. Even when there's a standard, like a clear standard, we've seen this in the Olympic trials, and then you ask them afterwards, well, you knew the standard was 335. Why'd you guys go out in 62 or whatever it is? Just wanted to race. I just wanted to get out there and race, and I knew the chances of doing that is like, forget all the complicated math with the world rankings. Even if it's a cut and dry, hey, they need to run this or they don't go, we don't see people do it. So I just doubt that they're going to have a time number in their head, even if it's really like, how much would it really take out of Cole Hawker or Ncaa in one of these prelims to just cruise like a 339? Probably they could get through on that, right? I mean, it's an honest race for sure. I'm not saying it's a walk in the park, but just remember how easy Hawker did in the prelims at indoors, cruising that time well below 4. But I just don't think they're going to put that in their head. I think they're just going to run. Yeah. So they could run a 410, or they could run they're going to go with the pack. They can run a 410, they can run a 340.
Yeah. The advantage that Hawker has is this is his 3rd elite performance, right? Because he has the indoor mile. He ran a 338 in Eugene like a month ago, and then he has this. Whereas Ncaa only has 1 elite performance. So Ncaa needs to run 338 4 more times, whereas Hawker only need to do it twice. And I guess you'd hope that, And the question is likely that, I mean, maybe the trials final goes fast because there will be other people in the race who are like thinking 334 or bust, and that might help them.
Right.
But it is going to be interesting. Maybe could you see a Ncaa or Hawker or Tier skip their conference meet?
No. Oh, I bet you say skip NCAAs.
No, conference meet.
And try to run
and try
run
again.
Run like it's like at the track meet or something. Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't think so, but
they probably won't though. Yeah.
I just wonder how much these coaches are looking in at world rankings. I wonder, besides you, who's actually paying attention to this stuff.
Yeah. Well, I think if a coach is smart, they got to recognize, hey, I think Oregon coaches say, hey, I have 2 athletes who can make an Olympic teams. I think Carlson Notre Dame's like, I think Yared can make an Olympic team. I would be a bad coach if I didn't give him every opportunity to make that Olympic team. Like, who cares if he wins another ACC championship? Like, all right, cool, 10 points. Let's get this guy. Like, I could see maybe the prelim of ACCs. Maybe Carlson puts in like every freshman rabbit he can find and enters him in the 1500, and they turn that prelim into a time trial where they have a guy going through 1200 meters and dropping out. Like, that could happen. Yeah. And maybe he runs 334 in the ACC prelim time trial.
We'll
it could
see.
Happen.
We shall see. Are there any other college results you want to touch on? Otherwise, I'm going to do a high school roundup, because when Olivia was on last week, she got me all hyped for these high school meets. So now we got this is this the Texas 10 flat here that we got?
I think it is.
Sure. Yeah.
For those watching.
+5 on the wind here, but 10 flat, man. 10 flat.
2 guys
at the Texas
10 flat
high school meet. Yeah. Yeah. Very, very close, very competitive race. You guys can watch all the races from Texas, Florida, all those other states up on the site here, but look at the last 50 meters. Woo!
Yeah, they got DK Metcalf. He probably got like 8th. He was 7th in that race. All right, is that how it works out?
I'm not going to compare times from one meet to another, especially when you have the wind factor, right?
It actually would be really funny if DK was in that race, because then the height difference would be look even crazier. But
Jose Garcia with the win there. Boys 6A. Props to him.
We've been seeing some crazy wins. Why? I feel like, man, I don't know. I was like, shouldn't track facilities find ways to put figure out a way so you never have anything crazy wind? Like, can't they build a giant wall behind the start of the 100 where no wind can come in? I don't know. I feel like there's a way to design a stadium where you'll never have more than 2.0 wind. But
I'm surprised people haven't hired you for consultation on this stuff.
Ooh, look at Anthony Schwartz calling some shade. I swear if we had this wind in Florida, y'all would thought we were Olympians. The Texas-Florida rivalry is here. Man.
Yeah.
Schwartz, man, we never got to see his true potential on the track. He was great in high school, had a solid freshman year, but then the big bucks of the NFL came calling, and now he's a Cleveland Brown. He's going to be that one guy we always are going to use to reference for future NFL track takes. We're like, well, Schwartz, he ran fat. He's going to be the next Tyreek Hill with comparing he was fast in high school. What can he do now? Right.
Yeah.
That's going to be the thing.
Florida, I think Florida has some wins, but I think we see it more at the pro level when those meets in Claremont where you get those +4s and things like that. But high school, yeah, it blows pretty hard at that Texas stadium. I've been there for a couple of meets where there was a bunch of wind, but yeah, Schwartz would be one of those guys. I'd love to see him suit up in 100. It is interesting that the dialogue around these football guys, when they make a big play and they go real fast, what do you hear? You hear, that's world-class speed, which my definition of world-class is world-class. It's not, man, that was top 70 in the NCAA speed. That was 4th place probably at the Texas high school meet speed. No, we're talking world. Yeah, and now we've kind of backtracked into that was respectable in the heat at the Mount Sac meet speed.
That was that was for your size and height speed.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like there's some caveats that have been added here. You mentioned it before. People the king of caveats.
We'll forget it by Sunday Night Football. It'll be all forgotten.
Well, I guess it just all depends. How do you define world class? How do you define world class?
This is what you need. One thing you're gonna need the Olympic final to be into a 5.0 headwind, and then the winning time is 10.4, and then everyone will be like DK Metcalf. He would have won the Olympics. That's what we're gonna get.
Don't say that. Don't say that. We don't want that. This was good. This was fun. Everybody enjoyed it. Like, he had a good run. Everybody seems to be kind of happy with it. Let's not disturb the ecosystem here. One other high school result I want to talk about. Newberry Park, 4 guys under 9 minutes in the 2-mile at Arcadia. Nico Young's younger brother was second. He's only a sophomore, 8:43. Do I have all that right?
Yeah, it was insane. Something's going on, man, in Newberry Park. It is wild. It's just wild to see these kids get faster and faster. You see, like, after Drew Hunter left London Valley kind of took off, and it had a great cross-country team. And now you see this thing. Nico Young leaves Newberry Park, and they just throw down even faster times as a whole. It's wild.
The idea of force. I remember, I'm old enough to remember when a sub-9 just by itself was a huge deal in the high school season. And, Arcadia every year, 5 guys went under, 6 guys went under. It was huge, but it was an all-star meet. 4 guys from the same team, including underclassmen, that's preposterous. That's preposterous.
And they graduated like 2 really good runners. Obviously Nico, but Chase Ashbender, who went to Colorado, he's our number 2. So they're 3, 4, 5, 6, just 1 year later, all breaking 9. It's insane.
Yeah. All right. We will leave it there. FloTrackPodcast@gmail.com is our email address. Subscribe to the FloTrack Podcast YouTube page, please, and to the FloTrack YouTube page as well. We'll be back on Wednesday. I don't know what's going to be the topic for Wednesday's show. We'll have to figure out.
We'll have a topic. Rankings, man.
It'll be good.
Rankings will be the topic.
We'll rank some things. Gordon will be back to make more crazy bets. Thank you to Travis and Alon for producing. Thanks everybody for watching live on YouTube. We'll talk to you in a couple days.